Hey everybody, it's time to talk about the latest installment of Jeremy Adams' run on Green Lantern. This is the second of 3 issues tying into the DC summer event Absolute Power. There aren't anywhere near as many detours as last time, meaning we'll be able to spend a lot more time with our main cast of characters, so let's get into it. Green Lantern number 14 is written by Jeremy Adams with pencils by Fernando Pasarin, inks by Auclair Albert, colors by Romulo Fajardo Jr., and letters by Dave Sharp. The title of this issue is Escape from Gamora Island. Hal Jordan has successfully recovered his ring from Amanda Waller's foot soldiers, but it's out of power, so he'll have to improvise a way out of this heavily fortified base. Fortunately, he's surrounded by crates filled with the weapons Waller has confiscated from heroes and villains throughout the Absolute Power event. The best part about this is the fact that Hal doesn't have time to search for the most useful equipment. He just has to grab whatever happens to be within reach in that exact moment and make the best of it. Which is why he starts by shooting the bad guys with ketchup and mustard from Condiment King's guns. The rest of this scene leans into slapstick comedy, as Hal has just the best time taking out henchmen in the silliest and most cartoonish ways possible. Elsewhere in the same facility, Alan Scott is sitting in his cell playing chess with Jade Stone, the Amazo robot who took his powers. Absorbing part of the Starheart has given Jade Stone free will, but that conflicts with his programming. So Alan is trying to teach Jade Stone that value exists beyond what's logical, and he has to do it in a way that won't be rejected by the rigid way Jade Stone has been programmed to perceive the world. Alan is actually making some pretty good, albeit very slow progress, until the alarms start going off. Hal's zany rampage has put the entire base on high alert, and Jade Stone has to go deal with the problem. Hal's antics may have been perfectly fine for dealing with Waller's faceless henchmen, but none of it's going to work against an android that single-handedly defeated the entire Justice Society. This is like if Kevin from Home Alone suddenly had to fight the Terminator. Hal really wishes he had Superman or Batman here to back him up, but he's got to settle for whatever's within reach. And this time, Hal hit the jackpot, because he found a wand belonging to the Flash villain Abracadabra. The whole room erupts with light and explosions, and Jade Stone thinks Hal was vaporized, when really, he was teleported away. Since Hal happened to be focusing on wanting to be with Clark and Bruce when the wand activated, it teleported him to Clark and Bruce, along with a giant pile of random gear that happened to be close to Hal when he activated the wand. And just like that, Hal Jordan has joined the resistance of heroes fighting back against Amanda Waller. Not to be confused with the other resistance Hal joined, fighting back against Theos and the corruption within the United Planets. Are there any other resistances Hal can join? Because he seems to be collecting them. Speaking of the United Planets, back on Oa, Lord Premier Theos is having a closed-door meeting with all of the Durlans impersonating the various planetary ambassadors. And surprisingly, they're not all fully on board with how far Theos is taking things. They're impressed with what he's accomplished, and all of them will be celebrated as heroes on their homeworld of Durla. But they also recognize that if this secret ever gets out, then every world in the United Planets would go to war with Durla. But Theos has the same answer to this as he does to every problem. Amass more power. Become so powerful that nobody can stop you. And when you think you finally become powerful enough, go get even more power, before some unknown threat appears and destroys everything you've built. The paranoia we started seeing from Theos last time is in full swing here. He is simultaneously confident in his ability to become superior to any possible threat, and terrified that something he hasn't foreseen could make it all topple like a house of cards. And as he leaves the council chamber, all of the ambassadors look uneasy. This may be the key to Theos' eventual downfall. His plan cannot work without their cooperation, and they're all starting to realize that his ambitions are too extreme, and put their homeworld at greater risk with each passing day. Meanwhile, Carol Ferris is still with the JSA, and they've all taken shelter inside Dr. Fate's tower. This is Carol's first time being in a magical sanctuary where physics and reality don't function the way you think they should, and she's kind of blown away by it. But what impresses her even more are the heroes she's sharing a meal with. This is the first time Carol has spent time with a big group of superheroes who are as much a family as they are a team, and she's amazed at their willingness to go back out there and fight against impossible odds despite their ages and their lack of powers. It makes Carol wonder if she has it within herself to be like that too. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, Carol has done tons of Star Sapphire stuff before, so this doesn't make sense. What you have to remember is that most of Carol's Star Sapphire activity was, one way or another, beyond her control. Originally, the Star Sapphire was another personality that took over Carol's mind and body, making her act as a villain. But even when she overcame that and started to retain full control over herself while using her Star Sapphire powers, she was rarely using them by choice. Sometimes the Zamarons would show up and force her to take on a mission that was too big for her to ignore. Other times, a sapphire ring would show up and tell her that someone she loves is going to die unless she does something about it. So much of Carol's history as a Star Sapphire boils down to her being manipulated into doing Star Sapphire things, and almost all of it happened out in space, far away from Earth and the larger superhero community. Now here she is, sitting at a table with multiple generations of heroes who live and breathe the concept of altruistic sacrifice. They have a degree of dedication and idealism that's different from the willful stubbornness she's always known Hal to embody. And it's really started to make her think about what she might be able to do. Which is good, because the younger members of the JSA have decided to use her as their secret weapon. Carol has done such a good job of not being part of the superhero community that she seems to have flown completely under Amanda Waller's radar. Despite being present at multiple Amazo attacks, she was never targeted, and apparently her ring still has power. She's given an amulet that can open portals to the Tower of Fate, and is sent out into the world to find as many heroes as she can and bring them back to the tower, so that the JSA can build up its ranks before planning a counterattack. Carol is feeling overwhelmed and in over her head, but takes solace in the fact that they're right. Everybody thinks she's just a normal person, so all she has to do is act natural and blend in, and everything should be fine. Unfortunately, the instant Carol left the magical protection of the tower, Nathan seems to have detected her presence. Maybe it's because she's the cause of his extreme sorrow, which, if true, would mean that she and Nathan are linked in a way that's similar to how a Star Sapphire can see and follow the connection between people who love each other. We get to see the sorrow emblem from a different angle than last time. The teardrop and the spiral are all one shape made of a single uninterrupted line. I like this a lot. It's a really simple, really well thought out design. And it looks like the stream of tears are in fact going to be a standard part of the Sorrow Lantern, which I love. I can't wait to see what happens when Nathan finds Carol. It'll probably be after Absolute Power is over, so hopefully Carol can get into the superhero mindset by then. This issue finishes up with a backup story written by Mark Guggenheim with art by Derek Robertson, colors by Diego Rodriguez, and letters by Dave Sharp. The title of this story is The Shadow Lanterns, which we learn is the unofficial name for the members of the Green Lantern Corps who follow Theos with unwavering loyalty. Up to this point, I've been under the impression that the majority of the Green Lantern Corps has been replaced with bad cops. But this story makes it seem like the Shadow Lanterns are only a subset of the larger Green Lantern Corps. The reason they might seem more prominent is because Theos is only recruiting new Lanterns who can be easily manipulated, while any veteran Lanterns who won't play ball are sent into fatal ambushes that Theos himself sets up. So no matter what, the number of veteran Lanterns is constantly getting smaller, while the number of Shadow Lanterns is constantly getting larger. We just don't know how those two numbers compare to each other. The Shadow Lanterns also have their own oath, which frustrates me because I want to read it in the same rhythm as the normal Green Lantern oath, but it doesn't work. In deepest space, on planets far and near, the Shadow Lanterns now are here, and all who would do evil will always fear the army that does the will of its Lord Premier. It kinda rhymes, but I just can't figure out how to make it flow in a way that sounds good. So that's issue number 14. Now I want to know what you think. Can Hal help two resistances at the same time? Is Carol ready for a solo confrontation with an enemy she created? What do you think will happen if Alan succeeds at getting through to Jade Stone? Tell me all about it in the comment section down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got one Absolute Power tie-in issue left, then hopefully the pace will pick back up again, so we can really explore a lot of what's being set up with all of these characters. Until then, thank you for taking the time to watch. My name is Dan, we'll talk again soon.